After rejecting 100 women, a millionaire discovers his amazing love for a hidden maid. Chad Larson stood in front of his sprawling home, the sun glinting off his red Porsche like it was a prized trophy. For years, he had built his empire in tech, his million-dollar lifestyle a badge of honor. Yet, as laughter and chatter filled the pristine streets of his suburban neighborhood, he felt a hollow pit in his chest. When will I find someone worthy, he thought, dismissing yet another attractive woman from an exclusive gala, her smile barely escaping his notice. He wanted a connection that dazzled, not just mere charm. His love life felt like shopping something to curate, yet every woman he turned away felt like another lost opportunity. One afternoon, while visiting his family's estate, Chad took a rare walk through the local park, where the air was thick with the laughter of children chasing each other. That's when he spotted Lucy. At first sight, she seemed a world apart from the polished socialites he usually encountered. Her arms were defined with the hard work of juggling 2 jobs, sweat glistening on her brow as she helped a group of kids paint a mural on a weathered wall. The sun illuminated her fierce spirit as she encouraged their tiny strokes with gentle laughter, her joy palpable. He watched in awe, a feeling of admiration washing over him harsher than any wave of champagne fizz. Wow, he whispered to himself, captivated. Could this be what fulfillment looked like? Lucy's passion for art and the kindness radiating from her were starkly contrasted with the artificial interactions he faced daily. It ignited something dormant inside him, a longing for authenticity beyond the diamond cufflinks and designer gowns he surrounded himself with. Yet, that familiar pressure loomed over him when his relatives started nudging him towards someone of status, reminding him of the importance of fitting in. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came the storm that altered everything. Rain poured like a broken dam, tearing through the neighborhood, leaving behind devastation. Chad watched through his windows, heart thumping with dread. The illusion of perfection shattered, revealing cracks in the facade of his life's picture-perfect frame. Yet amidst the chaos, he witnessed Lucy spring into action, organizing those affected, urging neighbors to lend a helping hand. She transformed a disaster into a tapestry of hope, her creativity dazzling in the worst moments. Chad felt a tightness in his chest, emotions he didn't understand crashing together like waves. Here was Lucy, thriving in a storm, shifting the very ground he stood on. As he grappled with societal expectations and the lure of genuine connection, he realized he was at a crossroads that might forever change his life. Suddenly, a shocking accident jolted the community, sending his thoughts into a tailspin. Could he choose the world of opulence he had built, or step into the uncertainty of real love as he watched the dust settle? The question hung over him like the remnants of the storm, pushing him toward an inevitable reckoning. Chad's phone buzzed on the table, snapping him back to reality. It was a message from his mother, reminding him about a charity gala they were hosting next week. You need to be there, Chad. It's important for the family's reputation. She never understood him, not really. Linking his worth to lavish parties and wealthy acquaintances had become a familiar tune in their conversations. But as he stood there, gazing out at the storm's aftermath, chasing that elusive notion of love felt like chasing shadows, that he impulsively grabbed his coat and stepped outside into the cool air, leaving the walls of his home for the battered streets. The world outside was still wet, the scent of rain-soaked earth palpable. He wandered closer to where Lucy had organized relief for families caught in the flood. Small groups gathered, connecting over shared experiences, eyes bright with hope despite heavy hearts. Chad spotted her amidst a throng of people. She was handing out sandwiches, her laughter dissolving the heaviness in the air. Watching her, he felt drawn like a moth to a flame, an urge to know her better suddenly igniting his confidence. He approached, heart racing as he brushed a hand through his hair, self-conscious for a moment. "Hey," he called out, trying to keep his voice steady. Lucy turned, and for a moment, their eyes locked, and he felt time pause. There was real warmth in her smile. "Hi there. I didn't see you at the gala last night," she replied, wiping her hands on her apron. "You should have seen the place, it was buzzing with energy." "I had other commitments," he managed to say, acutely aware of the city's layered expectations pressing on his shoulders. "Right. And those commitments brought you out here today?" she asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. "Actually, yes." He chuckled softly, feeling the ease in her presence linger. "I was impressed by how you handled the storm's aftermath. It's not every day you see someone rally a community like this." "It's about helping each other," Lucy said, her conviction steady and sincere. "We're all a piece of the same puzzle." Her words struck a chord deep within him, resonating in ways he hadn't anticipated. The rare authenticity in their conversation pulled at his carefully crafted barriers. Could he really risk what he had for something real, something he yearned for but had always brushed aside? "Maybe I can help," Chad offered, surprising himself. "I owe you more than a few sandwiches for what you've done." Her expression shifted, surprise etched on her face. "Really? That would be amazing. We could always use extra hands." And before Lucy could finish, a shrill scream cut through the air. Panic erupted among the crowd as they turned towards a cluster of children where one had fallen, tumbling into a flooded area. Chad's heart raced and instinct took over. He pushed through the crowd, fear mingling with adrenaline as he reached the boy lying close to the water's edge. Chad knelt down. "Hey, buddy. You alright?" The boy, a few years younger than Chad's niece, looked up with wide, frightened eyes but nodded slowly. 2 feet away, he caught Lucy's gaze, fear and urgency painted across her face. In that moment, amid chaos, everything shifted once more. Was this the connection he had been waiting for? Here was a chance to step beyond the glittering world that suffocated him and into something that felt more like home. As the crowd began to help the child, Lucy urged him with a nod, "You've got this." Chad took a deep breath, realizing he had stepped into unknown territory, one where love could flourish in unexpected, yet exhilarating ways. Suddenly, he found himself questioning everything else: the life he had crafted, the expectations, everything else. What would it mean to follow where his heart led instead of where his name dictated? That thought lingered in the air, as heavy with possibility as the storm had once been. For the first time, he felt ready to challenge his world. But just as he rose, a familiar face walked into view, and Chad froze, both excitement and apprehension swimming in his chest. Chad? It was Emily, a high-profile influencer and the type of woman his family approved of completely. "What are you doing here?" Everything shifted yet again, and in that instant, he stood at yet another crossroads. What choice would he make now that he'd begun to uncover what truly mattered? Chad's mind raced as he turned towards Emily, her designer clothes starkly contrasting the mud-splattered streets of their city. It was like a flash from his old life piercing the new one he had begun to imagine with Lucy. I'm helping out," he stammered, trying to keep his voice calm amid the chaos surrounding them. Emily's perfectly manicured eyebrows shot up, surprise fading into an amused smile. "Helping? In this mess?" Her voice was layered with the skepticism of someone who routinely floated above the fray. She quickly glanced around, taking in the disheveled scene, before her eyes landed back on him. "I didn't take you for the volunteering type." Chad felt a flush creeping up his neck, the familiar pang of inadequacy prickling under the weight of her expectations. Yet just behind that discomfort, a spark of defiance flickered. "People can change," he said, his tone firmer than he expected. "I thought it was time to try something different." Emily shrugged, but there was an unsettling gleam in her eyes, one he recognized from years of navigating the treacherous waters of high society. "Different is good, but it's hard to maintain, isn't it?" You'll come back to your senses, Chad. All this it's glamorous for a moment, but all the real connections are at events like the gala. Across the crowd, Lucy continued to help, her presence a steady beacon of genuine compassion. He wanted to run back to her, to shake off the past like a damp coat. Emily, but before he could gather the words, a nearby voice shouted for assistance, and the moment exploded into noise. The boy's fall had drawn more attention, and another child had become frightened and started to cry. The crowd shifted like a restless ocean, drawing Chad's focus away from Emily. The discontent inside him bubbled dangerously, and he turned back towards the chaos. Stay here and have fun, then. Let me know how it goes, Emily said, her voice tinged with a mocking sweetness as she walked away, her heels slicing through the ground like a knife. The moment she disappeared from view, the pressure in Chad's chest eased. He returned his attention to the boy. Just then, Lucy appeared, kneeling beside him, her hands reaching out to gently touch the boy's shoulder. You're not hurt, right? Just scared? Her voice was soft, soothing. The boy nodded, the fear beginning to dissolve from his face. Chad's heart swelled at the sight. Here was Lucy, embodying everything he was beginning to crave: courage and strength intertwined with vulnerability. Without thinking, he reached over, brushing gently against her arm. You're amazing, he whispered, her eyes met his with surprise, followed by a shy smile that lit up her face amid the shadows of the flooded streets. It's nothing. We're all in this together, remember? He couldn't take his eyes off her. For the first time, he felt the weight of his decisions shift entirely. The gala, the expectations, none of it mattered when faced with this raw connection, this shared purpose. But even as hope began to blossom in his heart, the weight of reality still loomed large. Just then, a phone buzzed nearby. It was Lucy's, and she quickly glanced at the screen, her expression shifting from joy to worry. I need to take this. It's about the shelter we set up, she said, rising to her feet. As she moved away to take the call, Chad felt a mix of emotions swirling inside him. He stood at yet another crossroads, his heart divided between what society expected and what he had begun to desire. Would he let the past and its golden community pull him back in, or would he step forward into uncertainty where genuine connection awaited? Chad took a deep breath. The decision loomed, large and daunting. Just then, a fellow volunteer haphazardly knocked over a stack of supplies nearby, scattering them across the ground. With a sigh, he realized it was not just his decision at stake, it was the opportunity for change that hung in the balance too, and in that moment of chaos, he felt an electric charge of possibility. What would he decide next? As he prepared to make a move, the sound of laughter floated over his shoulder, and he turned to find Emily reappearing in the throng. Looks like you might have your hands full, she said, smirking. What will you choose, Chad? Isn't it time to make a real decision? The question hung heavily in the air, and suddenly, he was more aware than ever that his next choice might just redefine everything. Chad stood frozen, the laughter of the crowd mixing with the tension coiling in his chest. Emily's smirk seemed to cut through the noise, taunting him with her knowing glance. How could she even think he'd willingly return to that life? It felt suffocating, like a noose made of glitter and expectations. His eyes darted back to Lucy as she paced a few steps away, her fingers busy with the phone but her expression visibly strained. Was she worried about the shelter? Or was it something deeper? The way she cared about those she helped was the epitome of everything he'd been missing. He felt a pull and urgency to move closer to her, to not just witness her compassion but to join her in it. But Emily's words lingered like a dark cloud. Isn't it time to make a real decision? What did that even mean for him now? Ignoring the bustling chaos around him, Chad closed his eyes for just a moment. In his mind, he pictured the gala, the music, the laughter, the polished smiles of his old friends and acquaintances. He felt the unease creep back in. Would he fit back into that world? Could he pretend to be satisfied among the glittering illusions? And what about Lucy? Where did she fit into all of this? He opened his eyes, steeling himself against the inevitable pressure. He couldn't go back. Not to the empty rooms filled with hollow conversations. Not to the crowds applauding empty gestures. A shout pulled him out of his reverie. Chad! We need your help. A fellow volunteer waved at him, struggling with bundles of clothing meant for donation. The urgency snapped him into action, eager to escape the weight of his dilemma. Coming. He called back, making his way through the throng. He could see Lucy watching now, the concern on her face morphing into something more approving. It spurred him on. He joined the volunteer, grabbing the clothes and swiftly sorting through them. As he worked, adrenaline shot through him. This felt right. The laughter and chatter around him became a symphony of purpose. He could see the impact they were making, the lives being touched by this small effort. Just then, Lucy approached him again, her call finished. You okay? She asked, her brow furrowed with caring lines. Yeah. Better, actually, he replied, his heart beginning to race in a different way, fueled by the energy of doing something valuable. Just realized I can't go back. I want to be a part of something that matters. Her smile widened, a warmth radiating between them, dispelling any lingering shadows of doubt. That's awesome to hear. We definitely want more people like you here. But the warmth was fleeting. Emily's voice chimed in again, sharp and cutting. Oh, Chad, darling. You can't seriously believe serving soup at a shelter is the height of fulfillment, right? For a moment, Chad's chest tightened again, but this time something shifted inside. He looked at Lucy, who stood beside him, her energy laced with authenticity and kindness. Then he turned back to Emily, feeling a resolve build within him like a shield. Actually, I think it is, he replied, his voice steady, almost liberating. This matters more than the gala or the fancy parties. I've realized that it's not the glitter that counts, but the connection. Emily's smirk faltered, brows knitting together in a show of confusion. He rarely challenged her like this before. The crowd buzzed around him, but he felt a stillness in that moment. He had chosen. Just then, a loud bang resonated from where the supplies were stacked. A small boy stumbled, falling and crying out again, shaking Chad from his thoughts. Something deep inside him stirred, he couldn't ignore it. Lucy, let us go help him, he said, without a second thought. As they rushed towards the commotion, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The connection he had been searching for was finally within reach, not just with Lucy but with the community around him. And outside the chaos, there was still Emily, staring after him, her expression unreadable. But beneath it all, a thought bubbled up. What if this was only the first challenge? What would bring them all together next? Would he have the courage to face what came after? It all loomed, waiting on the horizon like a shadow promising both fear and hope. As Chad and Lucy reached the boy, he was sitting on the ground, tears streaming down his dusty cheeks. He glanced up at them, his eyes wide with surprise and pain. Chad felt a swift tug at his heart, the boy's distress echoing in his chest. Hey there, buddy, Chad knelt beside him, his voice soft, warm like a sunny day. What happened? The boy sniffed, his small frame shaking. I tripped and I wanted to help. His broken words were choppy, like paper tearing. Helping is the bravest thing you can do, Lucy chimed in, kneeling too, her presence a soothing balm. It's okay to fall. What's important is that you get back up. She took the boy's hand gently, and he looked at her, the fear slowly fading from his face. Chad watched her, heart swelling. This was what he wanted. Simple moments of truth and vulnerability. No extravagance, just genuine connection. He reached out, brushing the dust from the boy's knees. Let us get you back up, okay? Together, they helped the boy to his feet. Lucy ruffled his hair and the boy's wide grin returned. Thank you. he exclaimed, his sadness forgotten. He dashed off, rejoining his friends like a burst of sunshine. Chad stood, buoyed by what just happened. He turned towards Lucy, excitement and admiration mingling in his gaze. "That was amazing." "It's just a small gesture," she shrugged, but the light in her eyes betrayed her humility. "Every little thing counts." "So, what's next?" he asked, curiosity bubbling up in him. He felt a new sense of adventure, a yearning to find more ways to connect. Lucy's expression brightened. "We're actually planning a community cleanup next week. A lot of the families around here don't have the resources to keep their neighborhoods clean. If we can get a few volunteers together, it could make a real difference." Chad's heart raced. "I'm in. Count me as your first volunteer." "Great." She beamed, and the world around them seemed to soften, colors becoming richer, sounds more vibrant. It was as if everything was telling him he was finally on the right path, but just as he was getting lost in the moment, Emily materialized beside them, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You really think you can make a difference with a handful of trash bags?" "How noble," she sneered, arms crossed. Chad's stomach churned at her negativity. "It's better than sitting around at lavish dinners pretending to enjoy shallow conversations," he shot back, the words spilling out before he could stop them. Emily's expression shifted from amusement to disbelief. "You've changed, Chad. I barely recognize you." And that took him aback. Was this change really that noticeable? Lucy watched him, a mixture of surprise and support on her face. "Maybe it's time you recognized who I really am." He stepped forward, the thrill of newfound courage energizing him. "Whatever," Emily shrugged, annoyance flickering across her features as she turned away. Chad took a breath, relief washing over him. It was a strange mix of agonizing vulnerability and liberating truth. Lucy took a step closer, her gaze steady. "You stood your ground. That's a big step." "Yeah," Chad said, the confidence settling into a comfortable weight. "I can feel a change. Like I'm finally choosing the life I want." A moment stretched between them, charged and quiet, before she quietly added, "And what if others don't understand?" Chad thought about Emily and all those lavish parties. "Then I guess I'll just have to show them." He looked beyond the crowd, excitement cracking like thunder in his veins. The path ahead was uncertain, but it pulsed with potential. He wanted to dive deeper into this world, this mission. "Let's grab a few more supplies for the cleanup," he suggested as they walked away from the small chaos. It felt energizing to take action, to be part of something bigger than himself. But in the back of his mind, an unsettling thought nagged. He knew that this might lead to something much larger. What if the challenges ahead were tougher than just comments from Emily? "Chad?" Lucy's voice cut through his thoughts. Looking into her eyes, he felt a rush of warmth and wonder. "Yeah? What if the real challenge isn't just the work we do, but who we become while doing it?" His breath caught for a moment as he pondered the depth of her question. What lay beyond the surface of this new journey? As they navigated through the crowd, he felt changes stirring deeper within him, and amidst all the hope, he sensed the beginnings of a storm. But he was ready. He hoped. The moment was alive, but questions loomed large. Who would he become when everything was said and done? In the following days, excitement rippled through Chad. The cleanup was a week away, but Lucy's words lingered like a sweet perfume, urging him on. He dedicated his evenings to organizing supplies, gathering paints, trash bags, and snacks for the volunteers. With each item he collected, he felt a connection to his community strengthening, turning into tangible energy that kicked inside him. Chad and Lucy met often, going over plans at the local diner or the park. Conversations flowed easily between them, filled with laughter and shared aspirations. When Lucy spoke about gathering the volunteers, her eyes sparkled with passion, and it made his heart race. For the first time, he admired her not just as a friend, but as someone who inspired him to be better, but doubt shadowed him too. As he sat at his kitchen table, skimming over articles about community service, he wrestled with Emily's words. Had he really changed that much? He glanced at his reflection in the window, the sunlight casting a vibrant glow. A knot tightened in his stomach. What if he was just fooling himself? That Saturday, as the sun broke through the clouds like a spotlight, Chad and Lucy gathered with a group at the community center. It was a mix of curious neighbors, hopeful families, and a handful of friends. Chad stood at the front with Lucy, excitement tingling in his toes. This was real, this was happening. Thank you all for being here today. Lucy's voice rang clear. This community cleanup isn't just about picking up trash, it's about coming together, about creating a space we can all enjoy. Let us unite and show our love for this neighborhood. A cheer erupted, lifting the spirits higher than the sky. Liz, a retired schoolteacher and a beloved figure in the community, stepped forward. I'm proud of you all. Let South make this place shine. Chad watched, feeling warmth embrace him. This was the answer to his earlier doubts. It wasn't about whether he'd changed, but how he could be part of something bigger. As they set out to work, conversations buzzed and laughter filled the air. With each trash bag filled, a sense of accomplishment anchored deeper, but chaos erupted when a group of teens zipped through, knocking over a pile of paint cans that Lucy had just set down. They jeered, laughing at the mess they'd created. Anger bubbled in Chad as he watched Lucy's face cloud over, the joy she had moments ago replaced by frustration. Stepping forward, Chad's heart raced with adrenaline. Hey! That wasn't cool. He shouted, surprising even himself. The laughter died off, replaced by a mix of confusion and defiance. What are you going to do about it? One of the teens shot back, crossing his arms. Chad glanced back at Lucy, searching for guidance, her expression calm yet steely. It gave him courage. I'm going to teach you about respect. This isn't just our community, it's yours too. The tension crackled like static electricity. He had crossed a line, stepping out of his comfort zone into something fiercer. A glance at Lucy reflected support, but also a challenge. What if this was just the beginning? Would he confront not just teens, but his own shadows? As the day proceeded, Chad realized that this fight was much more significant than he had anticipated. With every scooped bag and every shared smile, there were deeper layers he needed to explore. They continued to work, the earlier chaos fading, but the thrill of what had just transpired lingered. Together, they made the area shine, but a question prodded his heart: how deep did this transformation flow? At the end of the day, as Chad swept the last bits of debris into the container, he caught Lucy's eye from across the lot. Her smile flickered with warmth, but underlying it was something else: understanding, perhaps even hope. Would he pull through the challenges ahead and emerge stronger? As the sun began to set, painting everything in brilliant hues, he knew the journey was just unfolding and he was all in, ready to embrace whatever came next. But, deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that the storm of challenges was just on the horizon, waiting to test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. What would he stand to gain, and lose, in this new pursuit of purpose? The following week was a whirlwind, filled with cleaning supplies, flyers, and 1,000 small details buzzing in Chad's mind. The cleanup event had ignited something deep inside him, something he could no longer ignore. It wasn't just about beautifying the neighborhood, it was about forging bonds, confronting his fears, and evolving into someone he didn't recognize yet, someone better. Every evening he met Lucy at the diner. They sat at their usual booth, discussing logistics and laughing over greasy fries. Lucy's presence became a beacon of light in Chad's life. Each time their eyes met, he felt a spark, something beyond friendship. It stirred a longing in his chest that was both thrilling and terrifying. However, the weight of his internal battle loomed like a dark cloud. He wasn't just preparing to face a challenging day in the community, he was facing his own haunted past. Emily's words echoed in his mind. Every moment he spent with Lucy made him acutely aware of the walls he had built around himself. Could he really break down those barriers? Was he ready for the vulnerability that came with opening his heart? It was Friday evening, just before the cleanup. Chad sat on his porch, the cool breeze ruffling his hair. An invitation from Emily dangled like an unresolved chapter in his life. Come to the party tomorrow night. It's just a fun get-together, she had said, her voice tinged with something he couldn't quite decipher. Desperation? Regret? He pulled a deep breath, weighing his options. Could he face the woman he had pushed away for so long, all while still wrapped up in what was blooming with Lucy? He left his porch and wandered over to Lucy's house. He could see her through the window, her silhouette dancing in the kitchen as she prepared for their big day. His heart raced as he approached the front door. She opened it before he even knocked, her smile contagious like a wave of sunshine. "Hey! I was just getting everything ready for tomorrow. Are you excited?" She beamed, bubbly energy radiating from her. "Yeah, it feels good to be part of this," he replied, trying to match her enthusiasm yet feeling the weight of his uncertainty. "Have you thought about what you want to say to everyone? Your moment in the spotlight?" She asked, tilting her head slightly, always able to see right through him. "I've been thinking about a lot of things," he confessed, shifting nervously. "Like not just the cleanup. I mean, where I fit into all of this." Her eyes softened, brimming with understanding, and for a moment, he felt seen. "Chad, you're already fitting in. More than you know. Just be yourself when you talk tomorrow." "That's all anyone wants," she said, her voice silky smooth and firm, easing his anxiety. But as their conversation deepened, a flash of doubt hit him like a stone. Was he really ready? In the back of his mind, the party invitation loomed, a reminder of his past riddled with confusion and unfulfilled commitments. "I need to tell you something," he began, but before the words could escape, a loud noise interrupted them. A couple of kids nearby began arguing, escalating into a petty scuffle. Chad's instincts kicked in, and he didn't think before stepping into the crisis. He didn't want to be the guy who turned away from conflict anymore. "Hey! Knock it off!" he yelled, grounding himself as he approached, swiftly broken from the emotional moment he had been sharing with Lucy, but as he engaged with the kids, he felt something shift inside him, a sense of righteous fury mixed with newfound confidence. When the fight dissipated, he turned back to see Lucy's expression shift from concern to admiration. "Wow, you really have transformed, haven't you?" she said, her voice laced with respect. Heat rose in his cheeks. Maybe this was who he was becoming, the protector, the one to stand up not only for himself but also for those around him. As they walked back toward the porch, he felt the thrill of the unexpected journey ahead, but also the tension of unresolved feelings shadowing him. "Chad, I know you're working through a lot. If you want to talk about anything, I'm here." The words hung in the air, charged with possibility. Would he really allow Lucy in? And more unnervingly, what would happen if he didn't face his past before embracing this new chapter? As the sun began to set, coloring the sky with deep oranges and muted purples, he knew the cleanup was just a prelude to something much bigger. Would he embark on a journey of self-discovery that could pave the way to his future, or would he falter, tethered to ghosts that no longer served him? Tomorrow would demand answers he wasn't sure he was ready to give. What would he choose? The sun rose bright and golden the next morning, casting a warm glow over Chad's neighborhood. He could hear the gentle hum of life waking up around him, the laughter of children, the clanking of pots and pans as neighbors prepared breakfast, and the rustle of leaves in the soft morning breeze. Today felt like a fresh start, but it also carried the weight of decisions that had been building up in his chest. As Chad moved through his morning routine, thoughts of the cleanup event consumed him. He had a knot in his stomach, a mix of excitement and anxiety that wouldn't let go. It was just cleaning, he told himself. But every time he envisioned stepping into that space with his neighbors, he felt a tug of dread. Would they really want him there? Did he deserve to be part of something good, after a quick breakfast that he barely tasted, he made his way to the community center where the event was happening. The smell of fresh coffee and donuts wafted through the open door as he walked in. A buzz of cheerful voices filled the hall, and tables were laid out with colorful supplies, ready for the cleanup mission. Chad spotted Lucy on the other side of the room. She was at a table, cheerfully organizing supplies, her hair swinging as she laughed with another volunteer. Her energy lit up the space like sunshine breaking through clouds. When she noticed him, her face broke into a wide smile that sent warmth flooding through him. "Hey, you made it. I was starting to think you'd oversleep," she teased, her eyes gleaming. "No chance of that," he laughed, trying to play off his nerves. "I wouldn't miss this for the world." "Good. Grab some gloves and meet me outside. We'll break into teams and get going," she exclaimed, her excitement infectious. As he gathered his supplies, his heart raced not just from the anticipation of the cleanup but from the unresolved connection brewing between him and Lucy. Should he let those feelings surface? Did he dare to risk getting vulnerable again? Outside, teams began organizing, laughter and chatter intertwining as they prepared to tackle the tasks ahead. Chad joined a small group that included a few familiar faces from the neighborhood. It was heartening to see everyone come together, all there for a common purpose. As they started with the first area, an old playground covered in weeds and trash, Chad took a breath. He picked up a garbage bag and began clearing away the debris. Each piece he tossed in felt like tossing aside a fragment of his own hesitation. He was doing something good, something that mattered. The morning rolled on with laughter and shared stories, and gradually, Chad found himself in conversation with the others, forgetting the weight of his internal struggles. He even caught Lucy's eye a few times, each glance sending a little electric shock through him. In the midst of the cheerful chaos, a loud cheer erupted from the other side of the playground. He turned to see a group of volunteers celebrating finding an old swing set buried beneath the weeds. The sight brought a smile to his face, but just as quickly, he felt the conflicting pull of his past. Across the crowd, the invitation to Emily's party loomed in his mind. He could practically see it in neon lights, a fun get-together. Her voice echoed, asking him to come. Would he be able to face her? Could he even trust himself not to fall back into familiar patterns? Chad took a moment, letting the sunshine wash over him, grounding himself in the present. With every laugh, every shared experience, he felt the grip of his fears loosen just a bit. But would it be enough? Just then, Lucy approached him, holding a bottle of water and an encouraging smile. "You're doing great out here," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "This makes such a difference, doesn't it?" "Yeah, it really does," he replied. But just as he felt the shift inside him, the stark reminder of Emily's invitation tugged at him again. Before he could overthink it, words spilled out. "Lucy, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Anything," she said, her brow crinkled with curiosity. His heart raced as he looked into her eyes, both frightened and exhilarated. "What would you think if I went to Emily's party tonight?" The question hung heavily between them, mingling with the promise of change and lingering doubts. Would he choose to confront his past, risking the budding connection he had with Lucy? As her expression shifted, and the laughter around them faded into the background, he wondered if this could finally be his moment of truth. Chad's heart pounded as he watched Lucy's expression change. Her smile faltered for a brief moment, replaced by something he couldn't quite read. Was it surprise? Disappointment? He wished he could take the words back, erase the question he had just blurted out. I just think it might help me move on," he added quickly, feeling the heat rise in his cheeks. "You know, from everything." He hoped that might clarify. Maybe he was being foolish, opening up while wrestling with his own emotions. Lucy's brows knitted into a thoughtful line. "I get it, Chad. Facing things head-on can be hard. Sometimes it feels like you're walking into a minefield." He winced at her words, knowing how precarious his own situation was. Was he really willing to step back into a world that felt half-formed and shrouded in regret? But you have to ask yourself, Lucy continued, her voice calm yet firm, is going to the party really about moving on? Or are you just running back to something familiar because it's easy? Her question hung palpably in the air. Chad swallowed hard, the lump in his throat feeling heavier than before. I'm not sure. It's okay not to have all the answers, she said gently. Just think about it. Don't let anyone else push you into a decision. Not Emily, not anyone. Her words held a mirror to his soul, and for the first time, he realized he had become so accustomed to appeasing people in his life that he had lost sight of what he truly wanted. Feeling grateful, he nodded appreciatively. Thanks, Lucy. That helps. Really. She smiled, and it felt genuine. The warmth of their connection swelled between them again. She had that way of grounding him, making the world a little less intimidating. But then came that voice in his head. Emily's party loomed larger by the second, and he couldn't shake off the doubt. The fear gnawed at him like a hungry beast, whispering that he might just find himself trapped once again. They resumed working, but he found it hard to concentrate. The sun blazed, turning the vibrant playground into a crisp canvas of colors. Laughter erupted around them, yet Chad's heart remained tangled in uncertainty. Later, as break time brought the group together for some refreshments, Chad took a moment to observe the camaraderie around him. There was laughter and shared stories, breathless moments of joy bridged with kindness. It was everything he had been missing in his own life. As he sipped water, Lucy chattered away with another volunteer, her laughter ringing like music in his ears, making his heart flutter anew. Suddenly, the familiarity of Emily's presence washed over him, arriving unannounced with her laugh that used to feel like home. He caught a glimpse of her across the park, her group of friends blending as they moved effortlessly among the volunteers. An electric jolt surged through him, panic creeping into his veins. What if he encountered her? And what about the connections he was starting to form here, feeling the thrill of possibility with Lucy? If he chose to go to the party, would he be sabotaging the very chance he was given to redefine himself? Hey Chad, you alright? Lucy's voice pulled him out of his turmoil. She was standing beside him, concern etching her features. Yeah, just thinking. He took a deep breath, grounding himself again. As Lucy searched his eyes, he felt a flicker of hope. What if she was right? The decision was thick with tension, and he could feel a turning point approaching. Would it be horrific for you if I didn't show up at the party? He blurted, and the words hung in the air between them like a fragile thread. Her gaze softened. I think you should do what feels right for you. That's all that matters, Chad. But as he contemplated that answer, the conflict inside him grew louder. There was a choice ahead, and it felt monumental. Each option seemed to ripple into a future unknown. What would he do when the clock struck 8? Chad took a step back, breathless with anticipation, eyes darting toward Emily's gathering. Would he have the courage to walk toward change or retreat to the past that was haunting him? And as the sun hung low in the sky, he knew the answer would come sooner than he expected. The cleanup event ended in a vibrant explosion of laughter, and Chad felt a warmth wrapping around him like a well-loved blanket. Everyone shared stories and smiles, celebrating the work they had done to breathe life back into the playground. Lucy was beaming, her eyes sparkling with pride and community spirit. But as Chad stood back and admired the view, neighbors mingling, children playing, doubt knotted in his stomach. Chad, are you coming to the party later? A voice chirped. He turned to see Liz, the beloved retired teacher, looking up at him with hopeful eyes. Everyone's going. It would mean a lot to see you there. His words trailed off. What would he even say to Emily? It was like stepping onto a stage without a script. Lucy approached, catching his conflicted expression. You don't have to go just because everyone else is, she encouraged gently. Do what feels right for you. The idea of being at that party filled him with a mix of anxiety and apprehension. He glanced toward the door leading out to the street where Emily's gathering was happening, a vibrant energy thrumming through the air. Maybe I should go, he said slowly. It might help me put the past to rest. But at what cost? Lucy asked, her gaze steady. You've made incredible changes. Why return to what you've been trying to escape? Her voice was soft, but conviction echoed in every word. Chad felt a tightness in his throat. What if those familiar glittering expectations suffocated him again? He wanted to swim in this newfound authenticity, not sink back into the flashy facade. Suddenly, he remembered the laughter, the community spirit, the connections he'd forged in just a single day. It was real, it was fulfilling. He thought of Lucy's smile and the joy he felt doing something that mattered. He took a deep breath. You're right. I don't need to go, he said firmly, a wave of relief washing over him. A radiant smile spread across Lucy's face, and the light in her eyes made the world around him sparkle. I'm glad, she said softly. With the choice made, the apprehension began to dissolve. The truth was, this community felt more like home than the sanctioned events governed by bland conversations and polished facades. Just then, a ripple of laughter drew his attention. A child, face streaked with paint, danced around the playground, mimicking an adult's ridiculous dance moves, sparking joy among the volunteers. Chad laughed alongside Lucy, and the sound felt like freedom. But as the sun dipped lower, one thought lingered: what if Emily came looking for him? Well, I guess the best defense is a good offense, he said suddenly, adrenaline kicking in. Let's name our team. Lucy looked puzzled but intrigued. Yes. We can have team names. He turned toward the group. How about we name ourselves after the tasks we accomplished today? Team Clean and Bright. Laughter erupted. And maybe we can hold more events like this. Lucy added enthusiastically. An idea sparked in her eyes, igniting the collective energy around them. I'm in. Chad shouted, the joy building. It felt liberating to lean into those moments instead of stepping backward into the shadows of his past. As the sun began to set, showering everything in vibrant colors, Chad realized he had made a choice not just against returning to his past but for embracing his future, the one filled with authentic connections, sincere laughter, and love. That realization solidified a vow in his heart: he'd keep moving forward, not just for himself but for everyone around him. As they all gathered their supplies, Chad turned to Lucy, her bright laughter filling the air like music. Thank you for being here today, he said, sincerity painting every word. I could say the same, Chad. You fit in wonderfully. I'm glad to have you. The warmth of her compliment made his heart race. Together, we can cultivate something beautiful, he said softly, and it felt like the beginnings of something incredible. With that, as night fell over the neighborhood, he felt a sense of hope swelling in his chest, a promise that he was exactly where he belonged. This was the moment. And it felt alive, crackling with possibility. Now, as the credits roll, remember, you need to subscribe now. Hit that button so you don't miss the next heartwarming stories that challenge the way you think about love and connections. Leave a like now to support this journey. Every click fuels our mission to inspire. Comment below with your feelings about Chad and Lucy's incredible transformation, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need a boost of encouragement in their lives. Don't wait not even one more second. Your support can ignite a spark in someone else's life.